Yo, dudes, the Empire's pretty chill. Maybe you could, like, join it or something.
Lucimus Prime here, so it's time for the next episode of our series of Old is Better Than New. And in today's video, I thought this time I'd cover a horror franchise where, in my opinion, the old is better than new. And this is a horror franchise where, in my opinion, there's only one good film of this franchise. And that, of course, being the original film of this franchise. And this main film I'm talking about is one of my favourite horror films of all time. And this franchise where, in my opinion, the old is much better than the new is none other than the franchise of Candyman. So, now when it comes, of course, to what I think of the franchise then, so here, of course, is my Blu-ray of the original movie, and it's the only film in a franchise I'll ever own, because this film is one of my favourite horror films of all time, because back in 2022, I started to get into watching horror films, and I watched lots of franchises of them, and I started off with this franchise of Candyman. I saw this original film, and I absolutely loved it. And considering it's 32 years old, I think it's, for me, an absolute timeless masterpiece that holds up really well, in my opinion. And with an amazing story, which I definitely really loved. And we got to thank Clive Barker for creating this franchise, originating from a short story called The Forbidden, which, of course, is about the legend of a Candyman. And then Bernard Ross absolutely nailed it directing this first film. And it also gave us one of the most terrifying villains in horror movie history, of course, being the Candyman himself. And that's easily my all-time favourite role of Tony Todd. He's a fabulous actor, in my opinion, especially in horror films. And this would have to be, in my opinion, his best performance. And I've got to give him also lots of praise for being able to of course, be in the same room as all those bees, which actually were on him, because those were actually real bees. Like, the way he was able to film the scenes with those bees on, I admire that talent, because I wouldn't be able to film that scene at all. Yeah, Tony Todd's an absolute legend. He made Candyman an utterly terrifying villain, with also a deep, menacing voice, which he didn't even need to have, like, effects on to make it sound deep, because his voice naturally is deep anyway, so yeah, it was definitely, in my opinion, a really amazing voice he had for a character, which made him utterly terrifying. I also, as well, definitely loved Virginia Madsen, of course, as Helen in the first film. She's one of my favourite horror protagonists of all time as well. I definitely really loved her as a character. And I think the story in the first film was also fantastic, with terrifying moments, a terrifying soundtrack, with a terrifying villain. Just what you need for a horror film. And as I talked about in my ranking of the films, and also on my video on why I think Candyman the first one did not need sequels, it also had a brilliant ending where Helen sacrificed herself to destroy the Candyman. So, that, as far as I'm concerned, was the end of the franchise. And to me, Candyman is one and done as a timeless masterpiece, just one film alone from a franchise. There's only one Candyman film in my eyes, which I can accept as canon. However, unfortunately, since this original film, the franchise has really hit hard times, which absolutely sucks. And here is why I'd say Candyman is much better than the old than the new. Because 3 years later, in 1995, we unfortunately got the first of the sequels, which was none other than Candyman 2, Farewell to the Flesh. Now, I saw this film back in 2022, and I did not like this film at all, because compared to this film that I really loved, I unfortunately really disliked this sequel. It was such a massive disappointment to the franchise when you compare it to the original movie. Like, I don't know what happened at all with this. Like, goodness me. Like, that was just such a bad move, in my opinion, what they did. Like, really bad. Like, this film was proof that Candyman should have been left alone as only one movie. Like, just one alone. Like, I don't understand what they were thinking doing this. Like, just so ridiculous, in my opinion. One thing he did, which I thought was really dumb, was how it gave Candyman some sort of, like, origin story. And when it also gave him, like, his own name, of course, which is the name called Daniel Robital. That's what he's called. Like, I don't know why he did that, because it took away the mystery of his character. Like, he's not a character you're supposed to give an origin story to. No. Like, some characters are better off being left as mysterious, and Candyman is definitely a perfect example of that. That's why I think this sequel sucks when it comes to writing. And also, compared to Helen, who was a very likable protagonist, the protagonist in this film, in my opinion, sucked. Like, I don't know what happened at all with this second film at all. But, despite that, unfortunately, though, I would, however, though, regard what came next as the absolute worst of the worst. Because, after the second film, which in my opinion sucked, we got a third film somehow 4 years later in 1999, the year I was born, which is not just for me the worst in the franchise, but also one of the worst horror films I've ever seen in my life, and one of the worst films I've ever seen in general. And that is none other than the absolute disgrace, Candyman 3, Day of the Dead. I absolutely despise this film. And this is a film where, in my opinion, there is absolutely nothing good about it, in my opinion. Like, guys, tell me what is good about this film, please. Tell me what's good about it. You're probably not going to find anything good, are you? Because there's nothing good about it, is there? No. Nothing. Like, this film is total trash. And I thought the second film slightly more because Candyman was still, of course, a deadly villain and terrifying thanks to Tony Todd's great performance. But this film, however, in my opinion, massacred Candyman a lot. To a point where not even he could save the film, unfortunately. Because, guys, they made a huge mistake in which they made Candyman goofy in this film, which for me was a massive mistake to a character, because I mean, it was bad enough how they gave him an origin story in the second film, but making him a goof in this third film, oh, get the hell out. Like, that is just utter trash in my opinion, what we did to a character. Not to mention, there was anything but horror in this film to begin with either. It didn't feel like a horror movie either. The main characters also once again sucked in my opinion when you compare them to Helen as well. Like, it was just an absolute disgrace in my opinion, this film. Like, it was just simply not Candyman in any form or fashion. Like, a massacre to a character. Like, it was just a complete joke from start to finish. And as far as I'm concerned, nothing was good about it. Like, nothing at all could save this film. Because it was just an utter joke from start to finish. It was even more proof to me that Candyman should have stayed as one movie alone. And that's what I like to keep in my canon. Like, because honestly, what they did with this was just a big mistake. And I was just so angry when I watched this film. Like, I remember raging so much watching this film. So, Candyman 3 is an absolute disgrace. A 4 0 out of 10 from me. One of the worst ones of all time. And prove that Candyman was better than all than new. Then, however, when it comes to the rest of the franchise, it remained dormant for several years until 2021. And with regards to this film that came out, we of course got this film, which is simply called Candyman. So great, you literally call it the same title as the original, which is confusing because we don't know if it's a fourth installment or a reboot or a remake because of that title, which is ridiculous. When it comes to this film, it's regarded as a direct sequel to the first film, but despite ignoring the second and third films apparently, that still did not save the film, in my opinion, because once again, this film also sucked. It might not have been as bad as the second and third film, don't get me wrong, but I still hated it. Because, like, the film, in my opinion, had a stupid story, and also what's dumb is, they confirmed Tony Todd was prizing as well as Candyman, but he does not appear in the film until the end, which in my opinion was a massive mistake. Because, like, how could you have him only appear at the end when you've already confirmed he'll be coming back? Like, that was just so stupid in my opinion. Like, what an absolute waste of Tony Todd right there. And I don't get it because we see the Candyman character killing people throughout the film, but not played by Tony, so what's going on? Why couldn't you got Tony to film those scenes? That doesn't make any sense. That was just so ridiculous in my opinion. Also, the main character of this film is also Anthony, you know, the baby from the original movie. In this film, he's all grown up. Played by Matthias II. While he was more tall in this role compared to fake Morris from The Matrix, its piss erections, as I call it, I still think Anthony was not a very good protagonist when you compare him to Helen, in my opinion. But the adults did the best he could, but my favourite was always the Black Man to an Aquaman role. And in addition to that as well, when it comes to the film's villain, shockingly enough, it's not even Candyman. It's actually someone called William Burke. And in my opinion, he was a lame, pathetic villain, and him being a villain also came completely out of nowhere because it made no sense. The story in this film was just so stupid. And watching the film when I saw it for the first time, I noticed lots of plot holes everywhere. It was just so ridiculous. So, all I can say is this attempt, of course, as a direct sequel did not work, in my opinion. It did not save the franchise at all. And I really hope they don't do any more films after this, because this one was proved they're not going to improve at all, and it's just going to get worse and worse, really. They're not going to improve whatsoever. Like, it's more proof that there's only one kind of movie, in my opinion. Just one would actually work really well. And also, if this was supposed to be a direct sequel to the original film, why is Candyman's real name still mentioned? You know, Daniel Robital? That doesn't make any sense. Like, you're supposed to be on the second and third ones which said his name. So, why would you mention it in this when it's supposed to be a direct sequel to the original? Does not make any sense at all. So what I can say is, screw what came after the original film all the way. They were all proof that Candyman only works just one time alone, just only once. So, long story short, guys, in my opinion, there can only be one Candyman movie. Just one. Only the one alone, and that's it. No more, no less. Just one Candyman movie. And when it comes to, of course, rewatches, I'll only ever rewatch this movie. Screw everything else. This is the only one that matters to me. So, guys, this is me, of course, doing the next episode of Always Better Than You, while saying why, in my opinion, Candyman is a franchise where, in my opinion, the old is much better than the new. So, you know the drill, guys. Be sure to give this video a like. Also, be sure to note in the comments what you guys think of Candyman. In the comments below, doing Always Better Than You, what you think. Also, be sure to join the team by pressing subscribe, who's coming in the future. And I'll see you all later.